and welcome, fellow sovereigns. Today is the 31st of January, and apparently over 90% of people who have made New Year's resolutions have given up on them. All full and fresh of vim and vigour and vitality a month ago, and the diet plan's gone, the exercise plan's gone, the fixing the house up plan's gone, the making more money plan's gone, whatever. All those plans have all just, I'll just get on with life. And so these plans, they work for some people, obviously, the 10% of people who are able to make commitments and stick to them. However, for the perhaps 90%, they don't seem to work. And one of the reasons is possibly that we look at the physical side of things. And that is not what motivates people. So, for example, I feel very sorry for real estate agents at times, because so often somebody will come into them and say, what I want is a brick house with a tile roof and 2 garages and a small section that's easy care and marble this and da-da-da-da-da. And then they end up buying a wooden house with a corrugated iron roof and a huge section with an orchard, and absolutely different from what they said to the agent, who's gone to all the trouble to find them the right house. And it happens so often. As an accountant, I used to have clients would come to me and they'd have this dilemma. What do I do with this business? Do I sell it? Do I lease it out to somebody else? Do I whatever? Because they want to get rid of it. And so I would do all sorts of analysis and do the internal rate of return and all of that sort of stuff to scan the cash flow for them. And they'd come back and I'd present these wonderful figures and say, this is what you should do. And they would say, oh, actually, what I've done is bought another business and I'm putting a manager into the old one. It's like, okay. And I started to realize that we don't base our decision making on the physical. We pretend that we're using numbers. We pretend that we're using, say, for business, profit. And for buying a house, we pretend that we're looking at the physical part of the house, all those physical aspects. And people even sometimes think they're doing it with relationships. I've got to have this size person and this shape person, and they've got to be interested in these things, and they have to run. They've got to be this colour and this whatever. And then they end up with somebody else that just doesn't apparently fit the plan. And so there's something else that motivates us to do the things that we do. And I realise as an accountant, what actually happens is that business people make decisions, gut decisions, and then they need to prove to themselves that they're right. So they will make up a financial story that proves that they're right. And I think it's the same in every other aspect of life. We make an emotional decision, and then we find all sorts of reasons why all sorts of tangible reasons as to why we've made that decision. However, the truth is none of those tangible reasons were the reason we bought this or did this or ended up in a relationship with this person. It's all about emotions. We always buy an emotion and then prove it later on, and it might be seconds later. Why did you buy that coffee? Oh, well, because it's got this da-da-da-da-da. No, I just felt like it. So sometimes it's we justify it seconds later. Sometimes we justify it days later, months later. The time period's different, but the process is the same. We take action on emotions, and then we prove it later with some sort of physical proof that it's that sort of house or that sort of partner or that sort of coffee or that sort of business decision. And so there's a friend from a very long time ago, Susan Halliwell, told me that when she buys a house, yes, she looks at the basic physical things that she needs. Let's say it's her and a son or whatever, and she needs a certain number of bedrooms and a whatever. However, a strong part of her decision making is that she decides that she needs certain emotional characteristics in a house. For example, it needs, when she walks into the house, it needs to feel safe and welcoming and warm and bright and happy and all of those, so that she imbues her decision making with emotional things. And so sometimes she ends up with a house that she wasn't really planning on physically, but it's always perfect. So that's just a thought in general for anything that we're buying, what we really are looking for. And the truth is, what we're actually looking for in a house maybe is peace, security, happiness. We're not really looking for timber walls or brick walls or whatever. Actually, the real thing we're looking for is peace, probably. And happiness and joy and a sense of being part of a community, all of that. That's the emotional thing, and that's really the important things. So I suspect that's one reason why New Year's resolutions don't work for people, because they set them out in terms of physical parameters, let's say. So I need to be running 10 kilometers per week or whatever. I need to be eating so many da-da-da or less of this, and I need to be doing... So it's all down to numbers and sort of specific measurable things in some way. And that absolutely works for some people. But the fact that about 90% or 87%, I think, of people drop off at the 31st of January suggests that a lot of people, it doesn't work. So another idea is simply to choose one word. And it might be an emotional word, like, for this year, I am aspiring to peace. I'm aspiring to joy. I'm aspiring to happiness. Whatever those. Or there might be not emotional words, but more intangible words. And one might be boundaries. So that, for example, you might be thinking in the moment that might be about boundaries in a family. However, other situations might come along at work or anywhere else, and that boundaries word can be transferred to different situations. So think about the idea of simply having one word as your New Year's resolution in the first month of this year and see how that works. And wake up each morning with that one word, like a mantra, peace. However, yes, I do go on about the Course of Miracles. I'm sorry. It just sort of applies to every day, which is what it is. It's a psychological lifestyle course. So when you are setting goals, setting an aspiration of any sort, the Course tells us that the first thing that happens is the blocks to that turn up. I wasn't going to mention this, but anyway, here we go. So whenever, say for example, I'm setting the idea of becoming very incredibly wealthy, possibly the first thing that's going to happen is I'm going to lose some money. Or if I am wanting a better marriage, the first thing that's probably going to happen is that my marriage is going to get worse. Or if I want a business to grow and be amazing, the first thing that might happen is there's going to be a recession or something negative might happen in my business. So just remember that when you set goals, the blocks to those goals will turn up. It doesn't mean that it's not meant to be, all that New Age stuff. It simply means that you are now being presented with what is in the way of achieving those goals. So so that's always what happens. And it's just the same as an Olympic runner. What do? They get out and they train, and they sprain their ankle, I don't know, they do something. Do they give up? No, they go get physio and they get some help and they gently get back into it and they keep going. So that's really what it's all about. And so just remember, if you set a goal, say it's a diet goal, the first thing that's going to happen, so if you decide you're not going to have any more cake, the next day you can guarantee someone will turn up and offer you some cake, and you will feel guilty at not having it. And so that is, it's not a test, it's just an awareness that all of us have blocks to the success that we want in whatever life. And so if you like, the universe says, okay, so now you're open to dealing with this. I will tell you what's in the way. And I remember years ago I spoke to a friend who couldn't work out why she wasn't ever making much money. And I said to her, what do you think of incredibly wealthy people? Oh, I hate the bastards. Immediately, it just, this fury. She hated wealthy people. And so, of course, that was her block to making money, because she had this huge hatred for anyone with money, which would mean hatred to herself if she had some money. So she was never going to have it. So, of course, the block tells us, this is what I need to deal with. And so she realized she needed to deal with that hatred of wealthy people. And so it was presented to her, and then she could start working on it. She knew what she had to work on. So the block is like a big signpost from the universe saying, this is where you need to do some work. Just look at it. And if it's about love, do you have a belief that you're unlovable? Because that's possibly could be in the way of finding love, or whatever it is. So find one word for the year. See if that works for a New Year's resolution. Wait for the block to come up. Thank it. And then realize that that's where you need to actually do the work. And it's usually not about doing something physical, running faster or whatever, making more money. It's usually about uncovering our hidden resistances to whatever it is that you actually want. So have fun with that. The one word New Year's resolution. See if it works. And have a wonderful day.